Well, you're right on time for breaking today. Good evening from where you're watching us from. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. We have a lot in line for you and these are our top stories.
I cannot say this amount was paid, so I cannot mislead the House of an oath.
Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's impeachment motion enters day 2 as embattled governor dismisses allegations of misusing Nairobi County funds. Nurses and clinical officers in Siaya County have they vowed to keep off public health facilities as the ongoing medical staff strike enters its 10th day. Our business desk explains how the Kenyan shilling is faring after the Central Bank of Kenya was accused of overpricing the value of the shilling against the dollar in a move to shield it.
Well, be sure to reach us via 111 and tell us where you're watching from. And of course, your feedback about our stories this evening. Now, Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has dismissed allegations of misusing Nairobi County funds in a heated debate in Senate today. The governor accused the MCAs of political witch hunt meant to taint his political image. Sonko's defense team, led by lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui, presented 7 witnesses in defense of the governor. Samuel Namukana reports.
Today, Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has dismissed the allegations leveled against him by Nairobi County MCAs as political and once driven by malice and character assassination.
Good. That's a very good answer.
Listen.
A good question.
While testifying against the impeachment case in Senate, Sonko denied diverting 297 million meant for bursaries for needy students in the county.
Approximately 53,000 of the check, yes?
That was for the previous financial year.
No, Mr. Governor.
Yes, not for 2019, 2020.
You recall or you don't recall?
I recall, but not for that particular year.
Do you recall?
Previous year, even the bank statement for previous year.
Order. Kazo, take him slowly.
The governor denied financing his daughter Saumu Mbuvi a flashy trip to New York, USA, where she is alleged to have spent 4.6 million meant to facilitate county operations.
But Mr. Speaker, a couple of months ago, they brought a similar illegal budget, a supplementary one, Mr. Speaker, of 15 billion. I have no problem, Mr. Speaker, with the transferred functions. Let them take the money of the transferred functions, Mr. Speaker. But it is wrong for them to interfere with the 6 functions which I'm left with, Mr. Speaker.
The governor tabled documents showing vouchers and bank accounts of the schools where the cash was channeled in the 2018-2019 financial year.
Advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Mr. Duncan Okach, Advocate of the
Nairobi Member of County Assembly Sylvia Museia testified to the Senate that the voting during the impeachment of Governor Sonko did not meet the 2/3 number required, as most of the members were not present.
I admit that there was not a resolution of 2/3 of the members to impeach the governor of Nairobi. They did not have the numbers. They did not have the numbers at the impeachment notice. They did not have the numbers at the motion on 3rd of December. That was on Thursday.
Yes. Museia claims she was among 57 Nairobi County MCAs who were in Diani, Kwale County at the time of Sonko's impeachment.
It is regular practice that members do not participate in all House sessions, and voting by or refusing to vote is part of my right. So that is what we are practicing in Kwale by saying we abstain from that vote.
Emmanuel Kenga, who identified himself as an ex-police commissioner and a document examiner, claimed that 5 out of 88 signatures and names that allegedly signed Sonko's removal were written by the same person.
The request I got was to examine the handwritings of the names, whether they were made by different people or they were made by the same author. And my findings is that the serial numbers I've given out, according to my opinion, those serial numbers were made by the same author. And the reasons behind that are that I got some peculiar individual characteristics on the writings
Some 3 more witnesses were produced, among them a driver Douglas Okach and Kevin Omari. Namkana Samuel, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Closed-door deliberations of members of the Senate.
So NC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has said that Kenyans can expect major changes in the politics of the Western region, adding that his goal of joining the 2022 presidential race will be closely linked to his affiliation with Ford Kenya Moses Wetangula. Speaking during a funeral service for former Kabuchai MP James Lusweti Mukwe at Friends Church Langata, Mudavadi said that in the by-election to be held in the Kabuchai constituency, the NC party will not field a candidate to give the Ford Kenya top spot, a view which is also being supported by Ford Kenya leaders in the Matungu by-elections, where they say they will in turn support the NC party candidate.
I want to reiterate that we have talked, and we in ANC also confirm that we see no reason for us to engage in unnecessary competition in Kabuchai when the people of Kabuchai are going to make their decision. We shall respect the decision of the party, Ford Kenya, and we shall work hand in hand so that we can pull together the resources within Matungu and pull together the resources in Kabuchai.
Away from that and now focus on matters education, Elimu Yetu Coalition has called for accountability of funds in the ongoing preparations for schools reopening early next year. The coalition has also cited that as per now, schools are not ready to reopen, although they cannot forever be shut due to COVID-19 pandemic. Take a look.
We are asking the following to the government. Now, one, we are asking the government to be accountable. We know there are funds that the government has. The sector receives massive amounts of money for education. Our sector is a leading beneficiary. How have those funds been utilized? We are also aware that donors have presented money to the government to support the sector in the fight against COVID-19. We require accountability with regards to these funds. We are in a crisis, but we are calling upon the Ministry of Education to work as a team. We can only get out of this crisis if we front as a team, beginning with the ministry. We should not have this impression that there isn't teamwork in the whole structure of the Ministry of Education.
Shifting gears to matters health, when we hear about memory loss, short-term memory, which is a case of dementia, it is mostly associated with old age. However, reporter Harry Chimea finds a report depicting dementia as a condition that cuts across all ages, which has been listed by the World Health Organization as a cause for disability.
According to World Health Organization, WHO, dementia is now among the top 10 diseases globally that causes disability. And with just about 30 neurologists in Kenya, the challenges are numerous.
Often in Kenya, dementia diagnosis is usually made at very advanced stages. And so because dementia is characterized by decline in memory, decline in communication skills, language skills, we've realized is a big barrier to dementia care. The key thing or the common barrier that we came across was stigma. And you'd realize because dementia in community settings is attributed to witchcraft.
Yet, the burden of dementia is widely unrecognized.
Statistics have shown that age is the biggest risk factor, and actually at the age of 65 years, dementia prevalence tends to double after every 5 years. So that means age is a big risk factor, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who is old then should have dementia. Dementia can affect anyone in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, it only increases, the prevalence just increases.
Severe dementia, which is the late stage, symptoms include inability to maintain bodily functions, including walking and eventually swallowing, and controlling bladder, inability to communicate, increased risk of infections, all which require full-time assistance.
There is no cure for dementia, but traumatic injury, brain traumatic injury, and other factors such as excessive consumption of alcohol have been considered under the Lancet Commission as the extra additions or risk factors for dementia.
Ian Wekesa recounts his first blackout and memory loss in campus. Struggling to remember memories from the past 23 years, he was diagnosed with depression and acute organic syndrome.
I was put under observation, and this time I was diagnosed with another illness called acute organic brain syndrome. This is an illness, from what my psychiatrist told me, it's an illness that occurs when depression is left unattended to. It's a very severe illness, by the way, and it's a very rare one. Because when I was diagnosed with that illness, the first effect it had to my mind was it blocked my mind and prevented it from generating new memories. So when my mind was rebooted, it was like all the information I had gathered for the 23 years of my life before was temporarily put on hold or put aside. Because my mind was fresh. It was like a baby's mind. It was empty, with nothing. I guess that's where the dementia started. Because I had no memory of even walking, talking, or even using my hands.
For Ian Wekesa, who is a recent graduate of computer science, many disregard his skills after hearing his high pitch and hyperactivity, which he explains it happens when he gets excited. He shares that stigma and being misunderstood has been the biggest challenge apart from financial constraints. When people hear about dementia, they think old. Yet dementia can affect anyone across all ages. It affects the ability to think, concentrate, or remember. It is high time to stay alert. Harriet Chimea, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Harry Chimea, for filing such an informative story. Meanwhile, nurses and clinical officers in Siaya today vowed to keep off public health facilities as the ongoing medical staff strike entered day 10. The workers accused both the counties and national governments of lack of seriousness to address their demands.
The health workers, led by the National Deputy Secretary General of the Kenya Union Clinical Officers, Austin Oduor, the Kenya National Union of Nurses Siaya Branch Secretary Sylvester Nganda Ocheng, and his Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Siaya Branch counterpart Kennedy Opio Mondi, said that they were prepared to go on strike indefinitely to push for their rights as a frontliners.
We are doing our 10th day, and we are not seeing anything tangible. That is why I'm urging our colleagues that we are not, the reggae is not stopping.
Among the issues that the healthcare workers want addressed are the improved risk allowance, a comprehensive medical cover, a group insurance policy, employment of more staff to reduce the workload, and provision of personal protective equipment while on duty.
That when we talk about a harmonious risk allowance, then who deserves it if it is not a nurse or a clinical officer? This is what we are saying, that the government must be able to listen.
The KUKO National Secretary General Austin Oduor said that over 40,000 nurses and clinical officers countrywide will not be cowed into resuming work before their demands were met. For Breaking Today, I'm Robert Ouma.
Well, we are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Breaking Today. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. Moving on, a miner's body missing its head, stomach and legs has been found dumped in a banana plantation in Marago constituency, Muranga County. Njuguna Mwiruri, the grandfather of the 7-year-old boy, says the Shamba boy known as Moura abducted their grandson last Sunday and fled to Nairobi. Daniel Kariuki reports.
Fear and tension have engulfed Manyata village of Kamuhuka in Marago constituency of Muranga County after a body of a miner found dumped in a garden of a man whose grandson was allegedly abducted by a shamba boy.
Kia kupata mwili umetupwa karibu na njia upande wa shamba yangu ndani, na nilipoitwa na majirani ni kitu gani hiki, nikaenda kuangalia kukuta ni kama mwili unafanana kama binadamu.
The dumped body had no head, stomachs and legs, which were amputated and put inside a carton.
Kuwa na kichwa, kuwa na mbavu, ni miguu na imekatwa upande sehemu za chini huko, mpaka wa sasa hivi haujajulikana ni mwili wa binadamu au namna gani.
According to the residents in the area, they first had to establish whether the dumped body belonged to the adopted boy. Njuguna Mwiruri, the grandfather of the 7-year-old boy, says the Shamba boy known as Moora abducted their grandson last Sunday and fled to Nairobi. He then asked the salary of the days he had worked and was sent 4,000 shillings. Since then, he has been asking for a ransom of 50,000 to free the boy, an amount the family declined to pay.
Shilingi 50,000 ndio aachilie mtoto. Na sisi tumeona haina maana, hatuwezi kutuma pesa mtu atoroke kabisa. Tena ni ya nini? Tumemwambia alete mtoto tumpatie kama anataka hivyo, amekataa.
The grandfather says he reported the matter to Sabasaba police station, where he was later referred to DCI office in Makuyu, where he reported the matter.
Sasa akaniambia watafanya uchunguzi. Sasa bado anasakwa na CID.
Yule ambaye alichukua huyo mtoto alikuwa ameajiriwa mahali hapa, kazi tu ya hapa nyumbani shamba.
Confirming the incidents is the area MCA Karanja Kabera, who says investigations will be done to determine the outcome, urging locals to be patient.
Tujue kama hiyo mtoto ni yule tulikuwa tunatafuta au ni mwingine akaletwa akawekwa hapo ili watu waone kama ni yeye.
Na tungeomba serikali itafuta huyo kijana alienda na mtoto.
Daniel Kariuki reporting for Switch TV.
Elsewhere, the Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, that is FID, and Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi has called for proper resourcing of the judiciary to enable it to discharge its mandate effectively. They also rooted for alternative dispute resolution through the court annex mediation mechanism in order for justice to be dispensed fairly, even among people who may not have the financial means to pursue justice through litigation.
I remember 2-3 years ago, I was ready, and indeed I'm still ready, to donate 1 acre parcel of land in Mutwaf. But despite that gesture, the judiciary has not been able to put up a law. Why? Because the resources are not there. Not that I'm doing this for the judiciary, no. I'm doing this because my people will be better served with an ADR center in Kenya. My government will be better served with an ADR.
And this is where we find alternatives to Kenyans. Instead of going to court to litigate, they have alternative dispute resolution, which is faster, it is cheaper, it is more efficient, it keeps families together.
Washahidi mahali wanatoka ni mbali na awalipo awapewe, tuseme pesa ile wanatumia ni fair, iwe ni pesa yao ya kutumia, wanatumia pesa yao binafsi.
And now I'm tossing the ball to Clifford Ndubi for the latest in the world of business.
Fantastic. This is the latest from the world of business. Good evening and welcome. My name is Clifford Ndubi. The government of Kenya, according to the state's Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia, has secured over $125 million loan from the French government for the construction of the proposed railway line linking Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to the Nairobi CBD. The construction of the new railway line, which is expected to begin March next year and take approximately 2 years to complete, and aid will also be used to redo the old 17-kilometer railway track from the Nairobi Railway Central Station to Syokimau Terminus as well. In a city that can take you hours stuck in traffic covering a very short distance, such as 20 kilometers, especially from the JKIA to the CBD, there's need to find alternative routes that can ease movement. Recently, Kenya secured a loan up to the tune of 14 billion from the French government to facilitate the construction of this rail line that would accelerate reliable transport. With commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement come 1st January 2021, the government is positioning itself to become a business hub in the region and globally. The aviation industry has a potential of contributing to 10% of the GDP by 2030 from the current one, which stands at 5%.
The aviation industry plays a vital role in the development of the country by facilitating movement of passengers, promoting tourism, as well as bolstering trade links between our local industries and the world markets.
Seamless transport in Kenya is a big challenge, and innovation through a multi-sectoral cooperation is only key to the growth of the economy.
This partnership, therefore, is an example of the commitment that both corporations have to the Kenyan people to achieve the goal of providing an efficient and reliable transport system.
The commuter rail, which will be complemented by the rapid bus transit system, is expected to reduce travel time between JKI and the city center. The commuter train service will freely ship at least 500,000 urban commuters daily for a period of 12 months upon its completion. The number is expected to rise up to 1 million in the next 5 years. Clifford Ndubi, Switch Business. Now, as we focus on growing the economy, on the other hand, the Kenya shilling is weakening against the dollar. And earlier this month, the Central Bank of Kenya had been accused of overpricing the value of the Kenya shilling against the dollar in a move to shield the shilling. This has raised concerns on the state of the economy. And the big question is, how bad is the Kenya shilling and what can be done to revive it? Now, John Kutuni talked to a financial expert, Alikan Sachu, and this is her report.
In the start of December, the Central Bank of Kenya showed differing rates of the Kenyan shilling against the US dollar, which left banks with losses in their foreign exchange and showed how the government is trying to protect the shilling. But the question is, how did we get here?
The reason why is we have a lot of debt. The money we borrowed, we have not spent well. It is not returning. All that money we borrowed, trillions of shillings, is not producing a return. In fact, it's losing money, so it's costing us double. It's costing us interest, and then we're having to put more money in because we're not getting any return.
In order for the government to shield the shilling, Ali Khan advises for prioritizing on productive investment projects and cutting down expenditure.
Other investments have we made? Are they going to pay us something in the next 5 years? So what do we have to do? We've only got one choice. We've got to cut back. We've got to make savings. We've got to get realistic about the situation we're in. Now, my question is, who's getting realistic?
Some sectors like tourism and agriculture thrive in a weak currency, but that doesn't mean we are safe, as this may cause inflation since Kenya imports more than it exports.
The biggest issue is around importing inflation. You're already seeing food prices going up. If fuel prices start to go up, if the shilling is going down in value, it's like a triple whammy. You know, the cost of living goes up, it becomes less affordable for the common person to feed and clothe their family and do all kinds of things.
Kenyans in diaspora sent 28.8 billion shillings this year, which showed resilience by Kenyans, but Khan warns declining shilling will have effect on the money sent home.
If you didn't have those remittances, the shilling would be 5, 6, 7% even weaker than now. And really, the remittances has been the anchor for the shilling.
The country's poor economy is a consequence of bad choices by the government, and only the government can revive it. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Joan Kutun.
Thank you, John Kutuni. And now let's have a look at the business roundup of the day.
The 9 largest banks in Kenya increased their market share in the banking industry to 74.68% in 2019 from 70.28% in 2018, according to Central Bank's Banking Supervision Report. The gain in market share is attributed to the entry of NIC Bank into the top-tier banks following the merger with CBA. The number of medium-sized banks fell to 9 from 10 after the NIC-CBA merger. Medium-sized banks and small banks recorded a decrease in their market share to 17.10% and 8.22% respectively from 21.22% and 8.5% in December 2018. Kenya Airways KQ has announced plans to launch direct flights from Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Hargeisa, Somaliland by the end of March 2021. In a statement, the two heads of state announced that the direct flights to Somaliland will involve not only KQ but also other Kenyan carriers. The plan comes barely 5 months after the Kenya's low-cost carrier Jambojet halted plans to launch direct flights from Nairobi to the Somaliland capital, Mogadishu, citing high insurance needed to ply the route. The Central Bank of Kenya CBK has lifted the waiver on mobile money transaction fees under 1,000 shillings beginning January. CBK says only mobile money transactions below 100 shillings will be free as providers will instead the sending fees. The regulatory says that since the waiver was introduced, the monthly volume of person-to-person transaction increased by 87% between February and October 2020. Over the period, the volume of transactions below 1,000 shillings increased by 114%, while 2.8 million additional customers are using mobile money. Business-related transactions also recorded significant growth over the same period. Business Roundup, Cedric Oronje.
All right, thank you, Cedric Oronje, for that business roundup of the day. Now, as I wind up the business news of the day, now up next is sports news with Joel Chacha, who even doesn't understand how the sports world looks like. He's never played any sport, but to you, Joel Chacha.
But at least I'm able to give someone a ball. And now time to get sporty. Theo Walcott opened the scoring for the informed Saints on his return to his former club with a delightful dink over a band Leno. But Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang finished smartly after the break to level as Arsenal ended a run of 797 minutes in the Premier League without a goal from open play. The draw now